guess I can't keep up. I guess I can't keep up with the Jones. This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg.
Hi, I'm Matea Roach, and I have a new show on CBC. It's called Bookends. Every week, authors from Canada and around the world will join me to discuss their latest books. We'll have best-selling authors and rising stars. Our conversations will be smart and surprising, because when the book ends, the conversation begins.
Bookends with Matea Roach, Sunday afternoon at 1.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon, I'm Josh Crabb in Winnipeg. At noon, it's mostly cloudy and 22, partly cloudy and 20 in Brandon, mostly cloudy and 18 in Thompson. Starting now, the public can sign a book of condolence for Kathy Merrick. Through the morning, dignitaries had lined up to sign. The former Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs died suddenly last Friday. CBC's Megan Ketchison is at the Manitoba Legislative Building. Megan.
Right now we have the book. It's at the base of the grand staircase at the Manitoba Legislative Building. And next to the book of condolence are two flags, a Canada and Manitoba flag. They're draped in black, along with two portraits of Grand Chief Kathy Merrick, also with black ribbons across them. Now, there's been a steady stream of dignitaries this morning who were among the first to sign the book of condolence on the passing of Grand Chief Kathy Merrick. We had Manitoba Lieutenant Governor Anita Neville, Premier Wab Kinew, along with Opposition Leader Wayne Owasco and Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham signing the book. There have been a number of MLAs and staff, but now is when the public is able to come in and begin signing the book. That starts from noon till 8 today. You will be allowed into the legislature to walk in and sign the book, and it will be available until from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the rest of this week. Now, tomorrow, Merrick will lie in state at the ceremonial room in the Legislative Building. No photographs will be allowed. Now, according to the province, only 5 other people have had the honor of lying in state. Those include Elijah Harper in 2013, Rodman Roblin in 1937, and Sir Hugh John MacDonald in 1929. Megan Ketchison, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Thank you, Megan. The CBC's Megan Ketchison reporting from the Manitoba Legislative Building. The City of Winnipeg's latest financial forecast predicts a smaller than expected deficit for this year, but costs are still expected to exceed the budget by almost $20 million. Part of the reason is a delay in implementing a new fee for 911 services. Details now from CBC's Cameron McLean.
Council approved a new 911 fee as part of the 2024 budget. It would add a $1 fee to every phone bill in the city. And it was meant to help pay for the transition to next generation 911 technology. That would include the ability for people to stream video and send photos to emergency responders. But City Finance Chair Jeff Rawadi says it took staff longer than expected to figure out the regulatory process for bringing in the fee. That meant the Manitoba government, which must approve the fee, didn't receive the city's application until earlier this summer. The delay means the city won't receive $3.7 million it was expecting to collect this year. Finance Department officials now predict the deficit for this year will be just over $19 million, down from more than $39 million in the first quarter. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Canada's immigration minister says the arrest of a 20-year-old Pakistani man is a success by security agencies. Mark Miller was speaking at the Liberal caucus meeting in British Columbia. Mohammed Shahzeb Khan was arrested in Quebec last week. He is accused of planning a terrorist attack in New York. Miller says he won't comment on the specifics of the case since it's before the courts, but says police forces did a very good job.
Let's not be naive. A determined individual can gain access to this country. And then it's for the security services inside our country to apprehend this person if they commit a crime or if they're about to commit a crime. And that's exactly what happened. Our police forces did their jobs and arrested the individual, and we'll let the court case take its course.
U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland has also praised the work by Canadian law enforcement. It's one of the most anticipated presidential debates of modern times. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump go head-to-head tonight for 90 minutes on ABC. As Caroline Bargut reports from Washington, the clash comes at a time when there is no clear frontrunner in the race.
This debate will be a defining moment for both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. The two are neck and neck in the polls. Trump is currently sitting at 48%, while Harris is at 47% in the latest New York Times Siena poll. This will also be a chance for Harris to show Americans who she is and what she stands for. Trump and his team have been trying to define her for the past several weeks, calling her weak and progressive. Here's his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, who is also the co-chair of the Republican National Committee.
Many people already know who Donald Trump is, and they can harken back to how their life felt when he was in office.
Some key issues you can expect to hear about tonight include the economy, abortion rights, and the U.S.-Mexico border. The mics will be muted while the other candidate talks, but it's not clear if that will have an effect on their performances. Caroline Bargut, CBC News, Washington.
Apple has lost its final bid to avoid paying more than $14 billion in back taxes to Ireland. The European Union's top court has shot down the tech giant's last appeal, bringing an end to an 8-year legal dispute. It centered on a range of incentives the Irish government offered Apple to build tech facilities in Ireland. The EU court calls those incentives unlawful aid and says Apple is obligated to pay it back. And the Australian government is looking to introduce a minimum age for social media use. A trial run is underway that uses age verification technology to prevent children from opening social media accounts. At this point, the parameters are still being worked out, including the age limit. The initial trials have set it at 14. The Liberals in that country say if they win the next May's general election, they will ban social media for anyone under the age of 16. And that is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local news is at 12:30. For more news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Well, good afternoon, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and this is Radio Noon. Thanks so much for joining us over your lunch hour. A little strange out there. It's 22 degrees, warm like yesterday was, but it's just sort of hazy almost. We know we've had some smoky issues across Manitoba. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. You're on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app or on YouTube. This hour on Radio Noon, we're going to continue building on some news that came out this morning. It is all about what could be happening over at Headingley's John Bloomberg Complex and turning that into a multi-use facility. So stay tuned. We'll hear more about those potential plans, or at least the idea behind it. And on our call-in conversation today, it's all about nostalgia band tours, Journey, and now Oasis, Avril Lavigne. What old bands have you seen on tour in recent years? What was it like for you? Or who would you like to see reunite? So we're going to have some musical fun in our call-in. That's between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. Right now, though, let's turn our attention to that story that I mentioned about the Red River exhibition that is hoping to dust off the home plates at John Bloomberg Sports Complex. The redevelopment of the park is one of the ideas that they have. They want it to be a multi-use sport and event facility, as you may have been hearing in the news today. The X submitted a proposal to the City of Winnipeg to lease the complex that is quite run down, and it's in the RM of Headingley. So what are the bigger plans and visions for this? What could the new space look like? Garth Rogerson is Exhibition Association CEO, and Garth is live on Radio Noon now, joining us via Zoom. Hi there, Garth.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. Nice to see you. So for clarity, for people that haven't been maybe out that way since they might have played ball out there or something, what specifically are we talking about? Like what building, what land?
Right. So, the land there has been vacant. The soccer complex and the softball complex really hasn't been used for a number of years. The city, has struggled to find a solution to some of the challenges there since Softball Manitoba gave up the lease of the land. And so recently they put out, it was about 6 months ago or so, they put out a call for proposals for redevelopment of the facility. We think that that absolutely needs to, so there's been some talk about housing or commercial development, that kind of, no, we think that the city is short of park space and needs to have sport, recreation, and green spaces, so, we're pretty much directly across the highway from that property. So it's really nicely positioned. We're already in the event business. So, the things that happen there are what we're doing every day. And part of our mandate is sports. So it was a nice fit for us. And so we put together a very extensive business plan that we submitted to the city on how we would redevelop that into a multi-sport facility, because today it's very difficult to sustain single-use facilities. Really has to be multi-use. And I think really that's what the community wants to see, not just a soccer field, but maybe the soccer field is also archery field or flag football or field lacrosse. There's just a disc sports. I mean, you could go on and on of the different, and I saw a report of a cornhole league, which I kind of laughed
taken
about,
off.
but why not, right? So, you know what? So why not have a variety of things? But the other side of it is, we have an aging population that we want to keep active. So, and that riverbank property there is absolutely gorgeous, but it needs to be developed. This is all overgrown and you can't see the river. So what if we...
Oh, your Zoom feed just froze there for a sec.
To redevelop natural, great walking there.
We're just having some challenges. We're going to try to fix Garth's feed there as we maybe have to reconnect perhaps and see how we're doing. We just lost a couple of things he was saying there as he was... Okay, I think you're back with us now, Garth.
How are we now? You got me?
You're pretty good. So I'll tell you where you cut out and I'll tell you what I'm wondering about. So you were telling us about, we got most of what you said there. You were just starting to talk about, walking past the potential, how beautiful that property is by the river. What I would like clarity on, just because people might be remembering back in the day when you're talking about housing and development, that whole area, there were some proposals for development at one point, but they were around the golf course land. This is not This is a different part of that property, right? This is not that golf course land.
That's right, because the golf course is currently under lease to an operator operating the golf course. Yeah. There's some challenges within that property. The golf course is not, if you've played it there, it's not the greatest condition. No fault of the operator. It's just that, there really hasn't been an investment into that property. So I think that there's some future potential for that entire 200 acres developing it into a more multi-use facility. Now, the golf course isn't available at this point, but at some point it is available. I have put together a pretty detailed proposal to the city on how we would redevelop that entire property, including the golf course. So there are concepts out there that we put out there on how it could really be redeveloped into a multi-use. Absolutely, we're not talking about any housing development, any commercial development. And, because I know that's a bit of an issue for the community. It's an issue for us as well. We want to keep that a green space. We want to keep it a park. We want to make sure that anything that's developed in there is relevant to a park, right? And I think that the relationship that we're proposing with the city is very similar to a Assiniboine Parks relationship, where the city owns the property, but we operate it and run it. And it's a sustainable operation. So we're not talking about, building multi-million-dollar structures. We want to keep it sustainable.
So your initial proposal is not including the golf course land, but it does include something should that become available in the future. I don't want to get off topic here, but I do want to ask you a pushback question. There might be someone listening to this saying it sounds like a good idea. However, we do need housing. So that's a lot of land where something could be built. What would you say? And you're saying that you feel this is in line with what the community wants. What makes you say that? What have you heard from community, and where have you heard from people?
Yeah, we've really started a lot of community consultations, and certainly when the city tried to sell the land previously, there was a very strong pushback from the community that they wanted to see green space. If you look at some of the challenges within the community, the lack of green space and parks, and the city's mandate to have a certain number of acres of parks, this fits perfectly within the inventory of that park requirement. And also, I think, we have to be conscious of, yes, we need housing, but we also need green space, right? And we don't want to start using up all of the park space for housing when we could go up with apartments. We've actually, adjacent to our property, 5 apartment buildings have just come up. So I think that there is an expansion of available housing, but we don't want to see green spaces, and particularly river property. Winnipeg is unique in North America, where the majority of the river park property is under private ownership. So we want to make sure that river property is accessible to the community and stays in community hands.
The facility that you're talking about, when you're talking about the development and multi-sport that could be possible there, the vision that you have, would it be all season, and how would it be funded?
Right. So, so currently it's a seasonal facility, so it closes down in the winter. But we think that, Winnipeg is, 6 months of cold temperatures. So we need to look at how we can modify. The challenge is the structure. that is within the ballpark facility is a 3-season structure. So once we get in there, we're going to look, is it possible to renovate that so it can become 4-season? It may not be possible, but we want to see some winter activities there. So sort of a Nordic park that has amenities like skating on the river. It has a toboggan slide and cross-country ski trails and all those sorts of things that encourage activity and in the wintertime. So really, that centers probably more around the golf course, where I think that the clubhouse for the golf course is more readily available to convert to 4-season. But we won't know that till we actually get in and start opening the walls of the clubhouse for the baseball section on what we can do. But certainly, we want to take 4-season, absolutely.
What's the next step in terms of the timeline, and what's the plan for all of the funding for this? Right.
So the RFP has been closed for a while now. So we're hoping that the city, I hear some the comments from the city to the media that it will push to 2025. We're hoping that a decision could be made this year so that we can get in there and some renovations could take place this fall so that we can be operational next. We don't want to suck up next summer, fixing up buildings and so forth. We'd like to get that done as soon as possible. Also, we want to start community consultation because that's an important part of we want all the sporting groups and the community, general community, to have a talk about this and have say. This is their park. We're a nonprofit community organization, so we want to make sure that we develop it in a way that the community wants. And then funding for this thing is we have because we have a very large property here that we maintain, and we have a large amount of equipment. We have a large operational staff, including a journeyman electrician, plumber, carpentry, so forth. We got a journeyman welder. So we have the staff and the abilities internally to be able to undertake most of those renovations. Including we've got a dump truck, front end loader. We have the equipment, to be able to do any sort of field renovations, that kind of thing. So the cost for us is significantly lower than if we were contracting that out. And the Red River X has been in the community for a very long time, has run a fairly successful operation. So we have the means to be able to undertake those renovations and support the facility as it goes through the transition to success, right? So there's always that period of time when you first open until it starts to generate some income. And we're able to support that through that process, through the other activities that we do currently.
So it wouldn't need to be a moneymaker from day one. We'll have to leave the conversation there this afternoon, okay. Garth. Thank you for sharing your vision with us. We'll see what happens next.
Great, thank you.
That is live with us on Radio Noon on CBC. Here, Garth Rogerson, join us via Zoom. Garth is the Exhibition Association CEO for the Red River X. The City of Winnipeg says the X is the only organization that has made a proposal to this point. And as you heard Garth mention, the city is also saying that a decision is expected next year, though he is hoping that might come sooner. My colleague, Bartley Kivas, has also written a piece about this. If you want to read it online and see some additional photos as well, cbc.ca/Manitoba.
In 2007, TV network CBS dropped 40 kids in the middle of the New Mexico desert as part of a brand new reality show. And if this sounds like Lord of the Flies to you, it was meant to.
We were going to prove to the world that we could make a better society than adults could.
I'm Josh Gwynn, and I want to know what this wild TV experiment was really about. Split Screen, Kid Nation, a 6-part podcast from CBC, available now.
Well, you're listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app or YouTube. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Marcy Marcusa, filling in for Janet Stewart. Let's have a look at our weather. I'm hearing a lot of people in the newsroom when they're coming in asking, does it smell like smoke out there? Not so much. People are saying they're smelling the fields at this time of year, but otherwise it's a little strangely hazy. It's kind of sunny downtown, but it's 22 degrees right now, and our high is going to be 30, so we're still expecting a hot day ahead. We do have a slight risk. We're going to see a late afternoon thunderstorm here in Winnipeg. Let's have a look at conditions around the province. It is raining just lightly in Norway House and Barons River this hour. There's haze in Dauphin. There is smoke up in Flin Flon today. In Brandon, right now it is partly cloudy. It's 20 degrees. It's mostly cloudy in Thompson, and it is 18 degrees. And just having a look at the range of temperatures, the cold spot right now is Dooley Lake. Over the lunch hour, 13 degrees. And the hot spot in the province currently is Churchill which is sitting at 27 degrees. So we're supposed to be around 19 in Winnipeg for this time of year. We're going to be well above that with that high of 30. In case you're wondering in Winnipeg what it's going to be like overnight, the haze will continue down to 13 for a low. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds in the city with some afternoon sunny breaks, and tomorrow's daytime high is 25. Well, thanks for joining our team here at the show. Behind the controls of YouTube, Kevin Nipatebo. Hi, Kevin. Spent a lot of time with Kevin. He does the morning show YouTube as well, and here we are at noon. Behind the controls this afternoon, May McKillop. Good afternoon, May. And, of course, big thanks to Wendy Parker, who is the producer of Radio Noon and also directing the show this afternoon. Time right now is 12:20, and up next, in an old calving barn in Killarney, you would expect to see, well, calves, cows, maybe. But Gord and Debbie Falk have a different dream for their barn, vintage vehicles. And you're going to see a sign in their barn that says Happy Place, which is what they also call the barn. The couple's been collecting cool old cars for about half of their 48-year marriage. And they're here to tell us about their collection this afternoon. Gord, hello.
Hello.
And Debbie, hi to you.
Hello.
So first of all, you two, 48 years. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
We've only had one dispute in 48 years, so we're still doing okay.
And was the dispute, Gord, over the car that I understand that Debbie actually sold when you weren't there?
No, that wasn't.
How'd you start collecting vehicles, Gord?
Oh, I just went to some car shows, and I liked everything that was there, so I started looking around for something that I really liked.
And how many vehicles are in your vintage car lot now?
Well, I only got 3 of them, and then there's a 55 Pontiac that could be fixed up pretty fast with a little bit of work.
And what started your love of this, the vintage vehicles?
They're unique. Like the vehicles nowadays, they all look the same, but the old timers, they can tell what year it was and what it is, a Chevy or a Ford.
And are you were you sort of adopted into the hobby, Debbie, or is it something that you've also loved yourself?
Sort of adopted into it. I like antiques.
And so you don't mind that the barn is full of cars instead of calves?
No, not at all.
People might be watching on our YouTube stream this morning, so I'm seeing a big old red truck with big black fenders, and then I'm seeing a really unique vehicle that's got the big sort of back fins, and it's creamy colored, and the top looks to be red, and then there's an awesome picture of the two of you there. What is the meaning, Debbie, behind where you store the cars and the sign on top that says Happy Place?
It's got a lot of antiques in there, and Gordy spends a lot of time there. That's his happy place. So that's good with me.
One of the vehicles I was describing in not enough detail, we're actually also seeing photos up on YouTube. But for the radio listeners, Gord, can you describe the Ford Edsel? Because that's quite a unique car that you've got.
Yeah, that's a 1950 Edsel. 1958, sorry. Then when I go to the Brandon Car Show, it's the only one there at Edsel. So I try and get things that nobody else has, if I can. It's got they've only made it 3 years, and that thing has a 475 engine in it.
And they made it, I think that was it 56 to 59 they made that?
58, 59, and 60.
Got it. Now, car collectors that might be listening over Radio Noon here, they know their stuff. You have a unique feature that was introduced in 1957, I understand, on that vehicle, the Edsel. What was that?
Oh, in the center of the steering wheel is the push button. You put the gears in by just pushing a button, reverse, forward, or whatever. You just push buttons.
The sign that is on the barn, Debbie, that I asked you about, you said it's Gord's Happy Place, but it also has a connection, I understand, to a friend that you might have lost. Is that right?
Yes, we had a friend that did coffee with Gordy, Don Chatham, he passed away, but he jokingly always teased that Gordy was in his happy place, so that's why we adopted the name.
Oh, I love that. Gord, how do you feel about your hobby fading away? You know, as you were saying, cars now are all changing. These cars that you collect are, you know, they're not as easy to find anymore. And I'm not sure how much of a resurgence there's been in young collectors. What have you found?
There's some. I'm amazed that even young kids, when I go by, 10-year-olds or whatever, they turn and look and give the thumbs up. So they know that this vehicle is different.
How often do you get people that comment on your cars or stop by the Happy Place barn to have a look?
Oh, quite a few. Yeah, quite a few stop in. And we have them a lot of times just sitting outside so people can see when they drive. People drive by and then all of a sudden turn around and come in.
Well, it's a great slice of life, and it's a wonderful story to share for fall because this is the time of year where people are out and about and still trying to get those last drives in, and the car show circuit gets big as well. Do you take them out to the Pony Corral ever? I know here in Winnipeg there's a lot of people that bring their collections, make the drive.
We haven't brought it to Pony Corral, but we've been there looking at the cars. So, no, we haven't been there with our vehicle.
What's your next big show then that you're going to be heading out to, or what's your next big plan or drive?
Oh, wow, basically just going to town and show it off. I might take it to Brandon once in a while. I like driving around there.
And is it the Etzel that you take when you go?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks so much for telling us about your collection this afternoon. We appreciate your time on Radio Noon.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
That's Gordon and Debbie Falk joining us live from their home in Killarney. They're vintage car collectors. Well, are you singing yet? You will be now that the lyrics kicked in. A lot of people know every word to this one, right? Journey, Don't Stop Believin'. From 12:30 to 1 on Radio Noon, our call-in conversation. We're talking about nostalgia band tours, like Journey. Or for you millennials out there, Avril Lavigne going on tour. Paula Abdul's even back out on tour. And now Oasis getting back together. We're asking you what old bands you've seen in recent years and what was it like for you. We want your concert memories from nostalgia tours. We'd also like to hear what band you want to see reunite. Kevin Donnelly's our guest, Senior VP of Venues and Entertainment with True North Sports and Entertainment. The call-in starts after 12:30.
A singer in a smoky room, the smell of wine and cheap perfume. For a smile they can share the night. It goes on and on and on and on. Strangers waiting up and down the boulevard. Their shadows searching in the night. Street lights, people
The call-in conversation on Radio Noon coming up between 12:30 and 1. Nostalgia band tours like Journey, Avril Lavigne, now Oasis. What old bands have you seen in tour recently, and what was it like for you? We're going for band memories. Or who would you like to see reunite? Who would you go see? People are writing in already about the first Kiss reunion retirement tour back in 1997. People talking about seeing Annie Lennox back in the day. Driving through a Fargo blizzard to see the Eagles Hell Freezes Over tour. What's your story? Join the call-in. Here's the number to call. Get it ready because we're starting this conversation at 12, right after your 12:30 news. It's 204-780-0893. 204, call now, 780-0893. Or you can text 204-588-7355 as Journey fades away. So get your calls in, 204-780-0893. Kevin Donnelly is going to be our guest to help us through the conversation. Of course, we'll be playing some tunes. Kevin is the Senior VP of Venues and Entertainment with True North Sports and Entertainment. So we'll find out more also about some of the tours that are booked for this year. Right now, it is time for your CBC Winnipeg 12:30 news.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon. I'm Josh Crabb in Winnipeg. At 12:30, it's mostly cloudy and 22. It's hazy and 21 in Dauphin, and there's an air quality advisory in effect for the area. Through the morning, dignitaries had a chance to sign a book of condolence for Kathy Merrick. Now, the public can sign. The former Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs died suddenly last Friday. CBC's Megan Ketchison is live at the Manitoba Legislative Building. Megan.
Well, right now we have a few people that are coming into the Manitoba Legislative Building to sign this book of condolence. It's at the base of the grand staircase, and it will be open from noon till 8 today. Now, I've spoken to a few people that came in. Some were quite moved and emotional as they were signing the book. There was one woman that came in, and she used the Ojibwe word for peace. That was her message in the book. Others are saying safe journey to the Grand Chief as well. Others are writing much longer messages as a tribute to the Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. Some people I've spoken to were talking about how she was an inspiration for women and girls in roles of leadership, and that she leaves a great legacy in this province. Now, the book will be available for the public to sign from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the rest of this week, and then tomorrow Merrick will lie in state in the ceremonial room at the Legislative Buildings. No photographs will be allowed. Now, she is just one of 6 people who have actually been given the honor of lying in state in the Manitoba Legislative Building. Reporting live, Megan Ketchison, CBC News.
Thank you, Megan. The CBC's Megan Ketchison reporting from the Manitoba Legislative Building. A new 911 fee approved by Winnipeg City Council is on hold for now, and it's impacting the city's bottom line. The move would add a $1 fee to every phone bill in the city to help pay for the transition to next-generation 911 technology. But it's taken longer for staff to implement than first expected. To figure out the regulatory process for bringing in the fee, the Manitoba government only got the city's application this summer. The delay means Winnipeg won't get $3.7 million it was expecting to collect this year. That will leave the deficit at just over $19 million, down from more than $39 million in the first quarter. 2 Delta planes collided on the tarmac at Atlanta Airport. The airline says one of its passenger planes struck a regional jet while taxiing for departure. The collision caused damage to the tail of the smaller jet and the wing of the Airbus. The airport says there were no injuries reported. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating. And King Charles is preparing to visit Australia and Samoa on an 8-day tour next month. The more than week-long visit will be seen as a test of the monarch's stamina as he recovers from cancer treatment. The 75-year-old king has been slowly returning to public duties after taking a break following his cancer diagnosis in early February. That is CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local news is at 1:30.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
That's Josh Crabb in our CBC News Center, which means Q Riley Lachuk, who's popped into the studio. How you doing?
A little bit hazy out there.
It's strange. People are like, does it smell like in the news? This has been all morning. Does it smell like smoke? Does it smell like smoke? Not quite.
When I was walking in, it doesn't smell like smoke. It's just hazy. Not like last week, where you could smell and really taste it out there. But in parts of the province, we are looking at some of that smoke from wildfires in northern Saskatchewan funneling south again. We'll get a little bit more haze a little bit later in the week for us in the south here again, too. So I'll start with the air quality alert that is in place for Dauphin, Swan River, the Pas, Flin Flon, and Lynn Lake. This is because of those wildfires that are burning in northern Saskatchewan. Pretty stagnant airflow means that smoke is just kind of hanging around parts of Westman and just is stuck there. So you'll see some noticeable decreases throughout the day, ebbing and flowing in terms of air quality in that part of western Manitoba. A little bit of haze still here in the Red River Valley as well. That will clear out as we get through the day. Still a few stray clouds hanging around Winnipeg and eastern Manitoba. We did see a couple of thunderstorms roll through Westman early this morning. Right now, even seeing a few thunderstorms sort of over the northern basin of Lake Winnipeg, east of Grand Rapids, north of Barons River, into the eastern and northeastern part of Manitoba. So don't be surprised if you run into a few showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder, even into the afternoon hours for us here in southern Manitoba. Slight chance we could see some thunderstorms bubbling up as we get through the late afternoon into the early evening. Wednesday starts mainly sunny. Once again, a few clouds hanging around. I'm calling it a sun-cloud mix once again tomorrow. And the haze returns again, which I'll talk about in a moment here, because what we have is a low pressure system that will move through southern Saskatchewan, track into western and central Manitoba, giving us a miss here in the Red River Valley and into the Interlake and eastern Manitoba, northwestern Ontario. But what that will do, especially as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, is drag in some more wildfire smoke. This from wildfires that are burning in Idaho. So it's going to ride that area of low pressure right into southern Manitoba. So we'll get a break from the smoke from the northern Saskatchewan fires, but here in southern Manitoba, particularly south of the Trans-Canada Corridor, maybe even as far north as Dauphin through Wednesday into Thursday, we could see some considerable haze once again from those fires that are burning south of the border. That does start to dissipate as we get later into the work week here. Temperatures right now, 22 in Winnipeg, 23 in Brandon. Thompson's at 17 at the moment. We're looking at highs today in Thompson of 19 degrees. The rest of the province, Brandon south, looking at temperatures 28 to 30 degrees. Dauphin, Swan River, 23, 24 degrees throughout the afternoon. I've got Winnipeg at 30 today, 25 tomorrow, and then right around 30 to wrap up the week again.
All right. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
It is 12:36. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at Radio Noon. Thanks for joining us on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app or YouTube. It's time to have some musical memory fun on today's call-in.
Maybe I don't really want to know how your garden grows, 'cause I just want to fly. Lately, did you ever feel the pain in the morning rain as it soaks you to the bone? Maybe I just...
Well, it is no longer maybe. Oasis is definitely getting back together for a run of shows in the UK and Ireland. That's after years of mini breakups and sibling squabbles between Noel and Liam Gallagher. They disbanded, they said for good, in 2009. 15 years later, they're on a nostalgia reunion tour. Why do we love these tours so much? They really gained in popularity right now, right? Not just reunion tours, but anytime an old band gets back on the road again, that's our call-in conversation. We're hanging on to summer today with these warm temperatures, I think. We're talking about the concerts, the nostalgia tours, the ones you went to and why. Why do the sentimental concerts stay with you and mean so much to you? Do you have a great story to share about one in particular? Call us. That's what we're sharing today. Where'd you travel to catch that show? Call with your concert memories and maybe throw in who you'd love to reunite. I know we've already got someone calling in about an anniversary tour of the Beatles. We're going to get to that caller in a moment. But first, let's meet who's going to get us through the conversation. I'll give you the phone numbers here. Hang on. 204-780-0893 if you want to get in on the conversation. 204-780-0893, or you can text 204-588-3555. Kevin Donnelly is going to help us through this half hour. He's live on Zoom. Kevin's the Senior VP of Venues and Entertainment with True North Sports and Entertainment. Hi there, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. So are you an Oasis fan? How did this news sit with you that they were going to be getting back together?
I can't say I'm a huge Oasis fan. They actually played, back in the day. It was at MTS Center. But, I have an appreciation for what they do. They obviously had some big singles, back in their day. But, it's surprising, even to me, how huge some of these artists become long after they were big. Like they are now bigger than when they were big.
Why is this a trend right now? The nostalgia sort of tours, whether they're blended, like we just had the Burt and Cummings, the Burt Block party I went to, loved it. But it was like, we had the Sass Jordan, Tom Cochrane, Sky, you blend together, or you have individual artists. Why is the nostalgia, concert a thing now, you think?
I think it's always been around. What we're seeing is that, in so many cases, the artists are just not retiring. They don't quit. So as they continue to age, it by default becomes a nostalgia themed tour. So, whether you're the Doobie Brothers that have never quit, never been off the road, but they continue to tour, that fan base is aging, right? As the band is aging right before your very eyes. So it becomes by default a nostalgia tour. And unlike someone like a Springsteen, who continues to put out new music, a lot of these artists, they don't even bother. They that moment either has passed them, or they're not interested, don't have the energy or the inclination to write new material. So they are just, playing the rehash of the songs that got them there. So, there's a couple variables that go into it, but, it's definitely still quite surprising how popular these things and how enduring some of these artists really, really are.
Of course, I have a lot more questions, but I always like to go to listeners because they're waiting on the line. And so we have Ruth, who has been waiting here to talk to us. Hi there, Ruth. How you doing?
Hi, Marcy. How's it going in the noon show?
Everything's going really well. I haven't said good morning once. Thanks for asking. Where are you calling from? Are you in Winnipeg or outside of the city?
I'm in Winnipeg, and I wanted to remember the anniversary of the Beatles visiting the Montreal Forum in 1964. And I was living in Montreal and going to high school. I was in grade 10, and I ended up, was lucky enough to go to 2 concerts in one day.
Wow.
And the reason that happened is because, first of all, a friend talked me into going to get tickets for the afternoon show. And so we were successful at getting the tickets. You had to actually go to the forum and line up to get them. And then later in the summer, the Montreal Star newspaper had a contest, and you could apply to win tickets. And I was able to win 2 more tickets. So my mother said that I could go to it as long as I took my older brother as a chaperone.
We're getting people writing in about stuff that will be your vintage in terms of groups coming back together. I mean, Linda Locks wrote in, she'd go to the Eagles without a doubt. Other people are writing in about, we just had Kevin mention the Doobie Brothers, right? Who would you love to see if they were to hit the road again, or if they were to reimagine themselves? What old band would you head out to see, Ruth?
Well, I like Paul McCartney and also Ringo Starr. We were able to go to the Paul McCartney concert that was here a couple of years ago, and I took my daughter and granddaughter, and they were so impressed with his performance, being 80 years old and still got it. Unfortunately, I miss Ringo, but I would love to see the 2 of them together.
We're going to continue talking about this. Thanks for sharing the memory with us.
Thanks, Marcy. Have a good day.
You as well. So if you want to call in with nostalgia tours, whether you've been to one, or whether you want to put a bug in Kevin's ear, if we, have a chance of getting one back here in Winnipeg, who would you love to see, or what's your memory from back in the day? So the number to call live in our conversation, 204-780-0893, 204-780-0893, or text us 204-588-7355. As a concert promoter and a person that works with the venues, Kevin, what is in it for promoters now? Like, is it a growing area when you actually seek to have these nostalgia tours come back through? Is it how do they compare to sort of a newer band that might be coming in just with fresh stuff?
Obviously, there's stability. If the Doobie Brothers, we saw it through COVID, where we were having to postpone shows 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, and the ticket sales stayed quite consistent. So whether you were James Taylor, who we had on sale through the COVID era, and then it eventually canceled that one, ironically, because he caught COVID the day before his Winnipeg show. But the thing about these classic artists is that their fan base is so stable that a promoter can take a big risk and say to the Eagles, here's a whole bunch of money, come up to Canada or wherever the market might be. So the stability, the predictability of their fan base is appealing. I think I think that, like the Oasis example, someone just gets a sense that there's a moment that might be upon them. And, Oasis to sell 14 stadiums in one marketplace when they probably couldn't have done 2 arenas at their peak. There is a science to it that some of these really, really intuitive promoters have and they put into play. But I think first and foremost, whether the Rolling Stones or Doobie Brothers or Oasis, whomever, that bankability of the fan base, that the Stones are going to appeal to a big crowd. Paul McCartney, the same, and the list goes on. So there's not a lot of variability there.
What about who's going to appeal to Manitobans? Because what I did feel like when I was at the Burt Block party was Street Heart came out, Blue Rodeo came out. I mean, Blue Rodeo's been gaining audience here or holding audience here since I was 18 and I turned 50 this year. So, I mean, are there certain bands that this nostalgia tour might not work elsewhere, but they're going to work in Manitoba?
I think every region has its own sort of nuances, and Winnipeg would be no different. We are a great fan market for Blue Rodeo. We are outside of their hometown of Toronto. We are Canada's strongest market for the Headstones, and I don't know that there's a reason why. We just are. We outsell Vancouver. We outsell Calgary when the Headstones go on tour across the land. So Winnipeg likes there was a saying that we had. The flatter the land, the harder the rock. Winnipeg was a really good hard rock market. It's now a very good country market, but I think country is quite popular everywhere. But Winnipeg's sort of historically been a very strong country music marketplace. So there are some nuances, but, big is big. Taylor Swift is big everywhere she goes. Luke Combs is big everywhere he goes. Paul McCartney is big everywhere he goes. We just have to fight for their attention to get them to come here.
One of the things I reflected when Corey Hart was brought in here was the different nature of the show. Like if people haven't been to a nostalgia show or with an artist that's coming back and on tour again, what I loved was I kind of felt like I was in like the living room with like Corey Hart. And he was talking about like what it was like and his family and when he left music, why. Like there were all these personal moments. He wasn't under any illusion that he was coming back to like a crowd of teenagers cheering, because those teenagers are now, they're 50. Sure. Who's pushing this? Is it the Gen Xers, or have we now moved into the millennials that are hungry for nostalgia now? AKA the Avril Lavigne tour coming up.
Well, I think it starts with the artist, and the artist either has a need. The recording industry is dried up for revenue for them. So the concert revenue has really become their primary source of income. So it starts with the artist, and then how they manipulate it, how they create it. Some aren't as skilled as Corey Hart was at really making you feel comfortable and reconnecting on a very one-on-one basis. And that's a real skill set that not everyone has, and the good ones really do and do it well. So Avril Lavigne, again, here's a young artist who's, she's in her 40s probably still, or maybe even, I would put her in her 40s. And this is nostalgia for that set again. So we think of a new artist like Avril Lavigne who actually has a nostalgia appeal because her record's now 20 years old, if you can believe it. Right?
I can't.
So there's a new wave of nostalgia that comes upon every year as people age up and an album hits a milestone, like Avril Lavigne's record being 20 years old.
Well, so it's a pet peeve of mine to talk music without playing some. So we're going to take a break in our conversation. We're going to play a tune, and hopefully people are going to call us now that we've warmed everything up. We want to know about your favorite bands, nostalgia bands, what concerts you got out to. Maybe you've been to some of those Burt Block parties. Maybe you've been to some of the bigger shows. Maybe you traveled somewhere to see a nostalgia show. Tell us why. Tell us what that moment was like. Who'd you go see? So you can give us a call. The live call-in is 204-780-0893, 204-7800-893. Or you can text us 204-588-7355. Well, here is someone I had tickets to, and then they also had to cancel last minute. Didn't make it to Winnipeg this year, but we can at least enjoy it over the radio on CBC. Here's Neil Young in Heart of Gold.
searching for a heart of gold, and I'm getting old. Keep me searching for a heart of gold, and I'm getting old. I've been to Hollywood, I've been to Redwood, I crossed the ocean for a heart of gold. I've been in my mind, it's such a fine line that keeps me searching for a heart of gold, and I'm getting old. Keeps me searching for a heart of gold, and I'm getting old. Keep me searching for a heart of gold. You keep me searching and I'm growing old. Keep me searching for a heart of gold. I've been a miner for a heart of
Neil Young on Radio Noon, Heart of Gold, and you might have been disappointed that maybe that was your nostalgia concert this summer. It ended up being canceled. They had sickness in the band. He was supposed to be in Winnipeg in July. We are asking you what your favorite nostalgia concert was. Did you have a band moment, something that you saw, that you went to back in the day, or maybe it was something recently as a band got back together? Give us a call and let us know, 780-0893, if you want to get into the conversation, 204-780-0893. Kevin Donnelly is our guest, Senior VP of Venues and Entertainment with True North Sports and Entertainment. And who are you bringing in now? Do you have any nostalgia groups that are on the bill for Winnipeg in the upcoming months, Kevin? Or what are your plans for artists that you might be, I don't know, give us some insight into? Are you courting anybody? Are you trying to get anybody here?
Well, always. But, when looking at my list, of course, we have Bruce Springsteen coming. We have Sarah McLachlan, who here's a Canadian artist. And again, her big record, Fumbling to Ecstasy, came out 25 years ago. So whether you consider Sarah McLachlan a nostalgia act or not, this is, the touring on a milestone like that. Heart is coming back in March. They just announced yesterday that their planned reunion tour, which had to get postponed because of health issues, is now being rescheduled into March. So it's sort of an ongoing part of the job assignment. I'm trying to keep my ear to the ground and see who's announcing a tour, who's available for a Western Canadian run, and we make our best pitch to get them to come here.
I love the Sarah McLachlan thing. She's just a class act. When I covered the Junos here in Winnipeg, we were on the red carpet out on Portage Avenue. There are artists sort of walking by, and a lot of them were sort of not talking to people and taking the time, which is fine, to each his own. But Sarah McLachlan was like acting like she was your neighbor. She was stopping to talk to everybody. She was the most lovely person, which made me happy because back in the day I saw her at the original Lilith Fair. Me and my friends traveled to Edmonton, and just still remember that original series of incredible women artists that were out there on stage.
Incredibly gifted singer, songwriter, performer. Thrilled to have her coming back. And again, it's a head scratcher that record is 25 years old, but I know that's the reality. Yeah, that's the reality.
We got a call here. We've got Mark, who is joining the show live now on Radio Noon. This is our call-in conversation. Hi there, Mark.
Hello there. I'm in my mid-50s, and I saw Simple Minds here back in around 1986. I was in my mid-teens. What is the chance of them ever coming back to Winnipeg?
Well, there's a question.
Because they still are touring.
Simple Minds, sing me something. Hang on before Kevin answers. Remind us, hum along or sing something, Mark. Simple Minds.
Don't You Forget About Me. That's just a classic that takes me back.
Right? I love that too. Maybe we can pull it by the end.
I have a son that's 14 now, and he plays that song all the time. He tells me, Dad, I wish I was a teenager in your era, because your era was cool. I'm like, yeah, it was cool. The music was amazing. The movies, kids' movies were amazing. Teenage movies were amazing. Yeah. Anyways,
so
I don't want to sit here and reflect back.
Well, you should be. That's what the whole show's about. It's all good. We like it. Let's Kevin, I interrupted your answer. So what are the chances we might see Simple Minds coming back?
Well, I think pretty slim. Again, they tour a little bit. They are still a band. I actually saw them a couple of years ago in London, England, which was a really rare treat. But they don't tour a ton. And so whether that's, them or Depeche Mode or bands of that era that really have found a niche, and they work maybe 25 shows a year around the globe, it's really tough to get them to come to Canada and get them to come specifically to Winnipeg.
I'm crying a little because you just named Erasure, and that would be my youth. What's your favorite? Yeah. I mean, obviously you went to see Simple Plan. That's got to be up there. But do you have, Kevin, a favorite nostalgia tour that you would have been on, or a band that you saw?
I'm a lifelong Bruce Springsteen fan. I happened to see David Byrne from the Talking Heads. He had the American Utopia production that I saw in New York City. It was remarkable. But I've been very fortunate in my life to see a lot of artists, and so I now have a very limited attention span. I go and I see a couple of songs and go, well, that's enough of that, and so I'm my list is pretty short, and I've been pretty fortunate, but, Talking Heads would be amazing. Bruce Springsteen is always an incredible performer. If you have tickets, there are still a few tickets to get now that we have a rescheduled date. If you don't have tickets yet, please check out Ticketmaster. But, I'm a Paul McCartney fan, a Beatles fan, a Rolling Stones fan.
Yeah.
Those kind of artists are right in my wheelhouse.
Oh, for me, it's all the Erasure and the Depeche Mode and all that stuff. That was my jam back in the day. I have to say, our last caller brought up something interesting because he was talking about his son getting involved in interest in the music again. And you nodded to this earlier. You were saying, that some of those artists are finding a resurgence. Are they finding that because they're marketing to younger, music listeners and lovers? Or are they finding that because some clip goes viral of them, a video, or I don't know, the tune comes up that happens to be in a movie? The Simple Plans is in Pretty in Pink, I think, but...
I think both happen. Kate Bush had a tremendous resurgence with the song on the Stranger Things television series.
Yeah.
And it blew her career back up again. But, we used to, I'll disclose a little dirty secret, like, 10 years ago, when we have an older act come through town, we would have a little section that we call the Dumb Dad section, where some guy was here and he brought his inappropriately aged son to come see the show, whether it was AC/DC or Kiss or whomever. Someone brought an 8-year-old, and we thought, like, that's just not the right spot for an 8-year-old to come. Now, the multi-generational, so we'd have to come up with a spot to put these people, because the front row isn't the right spot for an 8-year-old to be comfortable or to be in that environment. But now we see multi-generational experiences coming to shows. Like Kiss was all about dads and sons. Having, mothers and daughters come to see Shania Twain, that is the vibe. That is the experience. So it's really sort of stretched the lifespan of these artists, and it's really changed what the experience is. You don't go to a show to get loaded or whatever the case might have been 25 years ago. Now you want to introduce your child to what got you excited as a youth and want to teach them about these great things, whether it's Shania Twain, Eagles, Kiss, these artists that really set the standard for that era and now are touring again. So you want to introduce your sibling, your child, your grandchild to this incredible legacy of music.
And if they get hooked, then you can play your stuff in the car and everybody's happy, right? All right, Kevin, I think I misspoke there. I said Simple Plan. I'm in Simple Minds, of course, but thank you so much. I know that you've given us a lot of time on Radio Noon to be part of our call, and we appreciate you today. And people can check out when that Springsteen tour has been rebooked for, and Ticketmaster for tickets to that show and any other ones coming up. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
See ya. Have a good one. Kevin Donnelly, Senior VP of Venues and Entertainment with True North Sports and Entertainment. Bruce Springsteen, by the way, the rebook date is November 13th. It is the end of the show now. I want to thank Kevin DiPatebo as well as Wendy Parker and May McKillop on the team today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. And we hope you tune in again tomorrow to Radio Noon. But this afternoon, we've got Up to Speed coming up with Faith Fundal. So check that out first. Take care, everybody. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Be well. Have a great rest of your day.